Welcome to Rauta's Black Metal Reviews. This time we go to Poland with a couple of releases. This is Deus Mortem, and these albums were delivered to me prior to the Steelfest 2025 interview with the band. However, due to vacation and other shit, I just forgot them on my table for a few weeks. So now they are after the interview as opposed to. Anyway, this time in this review I have the old MCD, which was released years ago, and then two copies, a digipack and jewel case of the latest album, which was released in 2024. So a little bit late to the party, but definitely worth talking about, especially since the interview is now finally out and been already quite some time. First, let's do a quick unboxing. Here we have the MCD, which is short and sweet, and showcases a little bit earlier version of the band that what you get to hear nowadays. And of course there are minor differences with the music, even though not as drastic one as with so many other bands. Then again, Deus Mortem is not exactly a decades old band, so there's always difference when a band is, say, 30 years old, as opposed to some bands which is like nearly 10, 15 years or whatever. Of course, since this MCD era, quite a bit of lineup has changed, so that of course may have affected how the band is seen and heard later on. But there are lots of main ingredients which have remained the same, so I would say even if you're a fan of the newer stuff, there's no reason why not to check out the earlier ones. This is Thanatos, the latest album, 2024. Comes with a thick booklet, and here is all the information. Necrosum doing guitars and vocals. He's the only steady member of the band, and the rest of the guys are newer. Here it is mentioned only 3 members, but I think later on they either updated the live or session music status to something more permanent, or then it's just live members what you get to see. Either way, musically speaking, like said, some things have changed since the early days, and a lot of things have more or less remained the same. Now, when you listen to Deus Mortem's older stuff, maybe it's more traditional Polish sounding, fast tempo black metal, and nothing exactly is, how to say, exactly very original, or being separated like, hey, these guys are something totally different. But that is not to say the quality is not right there. I mean, for example, the MCD we're talking about here is already showcasing a very how to say, experienced band, and that of course goes with the very fact that Necrosum has had other bands prior to Deus Mortem, which then again could be considered as new school of Polish black metal in that sense. But of course there are differences too, and in my opinion it's fascinating how the band has evolved a little bit over the years. I mean, when we're talking about Thanatos, then again you will hear there's more heavy metal in the play, traditional metal in so many ways, a little bit synthesizer, a little bit of acoustic guitar and all that stuff. But the core is the same. However, I would say Thanatos is more diverse in style, so there's more like dynamics, more diversity in terms of music, despite still being very true to the core. So, founded in 2008, not exactly a new band anymore, but we're still talking about a band that is less than 20 years old, and it's only more than roughly 12 years since the debut album, Emanations of the Black Light. So what I'm talking about here in terms of reviews is Demons of Matter and the Shells of Dead MCD that came out in 2016 originally, and features 3 tracks, 20 minutes. Quite lengthy for the given time. I mean, one song is. But that doesn't really matter, because overall this is very well balanced thing. Much more balanced than what you would maybe figure out from the track length and all. This is a good example how to start listening to Deus Mortem if you are not already familiar with the debut album, because it already kind of shows you that this band is filled with aggression and traditional second wave black metal approach. and nothing really reeks of modernity. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing that you have modern black metal bands. There are lots of albums and all that stuff that are very, very much more modern in style and all, and do great stuff. But if you're looking for more traditional style, and I'm here talking about mainly about the second wave, not so much first wave, yeah, I mean, Deus Mortem is already doing that quite nicely. But then we fast forward another 8 years from the MCD to Thanatos, which is the third album by Deus Mortem. It came late 2024, that is. And this one is full album indeed, 45 minutes, 8 tracks, and now things are more balanced in terms of songwriting. I mean, the track lengths are from roughly 4 minutes to 6 minutes, so everything is more like carved from similar pieces of wood, if you get the idea here. And what is interesting is, however, that this has really evolved, but more on the micro levels. So it's like the band has not changed, but it has evolved into something, like I said, more diversity. But these are just minor things. It's like the band never goes out of boundaries and creating those what the hell moments, but more like, let's keep it like the consistent ways, and as such the music is very, very likable. I mean, you have that aggression, you have the fast tempo parts, but there are also parts where it just like slows down and makes this album in a way more interesting than what it would be if it was like 45 minutes all the way the same pattern all over again, like in the MCD. The MCD works nicely because it's not more than 20 minutes, so by the time you feel like you heard it all, it already ends. But if it would be like twice the double of the amount of music included and would be doing the same pattern all over again, maybe it would get that bit boring. So what I'm saying here is, in my opinion, Thanatos is a slight improvement from those years, because now it has more these details, more nuance, if you will. Like I said, the acoustic guitar is maybe just on one track, but that's enough to just kind of like, okay, nice, they had this idea. Or there is a guitar solo one track, and you're like, okay, wow, they're not overdoing it, but they're seasoning the songs nicely. And of course, the production, very solid, nothing out of ordinary, but solid, and it really, emphasizes that this is some good stuff, properly done and all. And then you have those aggressive vocals. They're not, out of the normal territory when it comes to black metal. They're not the rawest ones, they're not the softest ones, and they have nice amount of aggression with the music. So it goes very, very nicely hand in hand with the music in general. So if you feel like now what I'm saying here is that Deus Mortem is very much the middle path thing, not exactly the rawest or most violent or obscure in the way, or then again not the softest or more lightweight bands, and yet still operating in the black metal. This is exactly what I'm saying, and I, for one, kind of like the very traditional take in black metal. I don't need gimmicks, I don't want them, and I don't want bands to go like, hey, we're, go something new. I mean, it's fine to do something else, then just don't even pretend that you're doing black metal. If this sounds like a gatekeepery, old school boomer kind of a comment, then it is what it is. But it's the same thing as with pizzas and beers. Sometimes you just stick to the guns and that's all you need. Say, if I want a carton box of milk, I want it to have like milk, not oat milk or whatever. I'm not saying that there's no place or room for that kind of products. I'm just saying sometimes it's just better to stick to the basics. And that's what Deus Mortem is doing just nicely. So if they sound like your average beer in a way, but nicely done, a premium thing, that's exactly what you're expected to have, and that's where Deus Mortem is doing just fine. So, in my opinion, good stuff all the way. Give it a go, and of course, if you haven't seen my interview with the band made at Steelfest 2025, give it a go. Some interesting opinions right there, and in my opinion, a cool man to talk about the band, Necrosodom, that is. So give it a go, and of course get used to the music and go to see them live if you can. It's a solid live band as well. Now off you go, links are included in the description box, so clickety click, find the information, and if you like it, go buy it. Bye.